There is a conversation you have not had. You know the one. It has been living between you and someone else for so long that you have both started pretending it does not exist. You have built a version of your relationship that works around the absence of this conversation. You have found ways to not need what you actually need from each other because you have been acting like the conversation is not possible. You have found ways to get by without the thing that is actually missing. You have been settling. You have been accepting the smaller version of the relationship because having the conversation felt too risky, and the relationship has been sustaining itself on the workaround, on the thing you do instead of the thing you say, on the way you have learned to need less than you actually need so that the gap does not feel so wide. But the gap is still there. The conversation has not happened, and the gap has been quietly growing for longer than you want to admit. You have been telling yourself that the gap is not that big, that the workaround is good enough, that you do not really need what you think you need, but that is what you have been telling yourself. That is the story you've been believing to make the gap feel survivable. And maybe it has been survivable. Maybe you have been getting by, but getting by is not the same as thriving. Getting by is not the same as having what you actually need. Getting by is just a slower form of settling. And you have been settling for so long that you have forgotten what it feels like to have a relationship where the conversation has been had, where the gap does not exist because you said what needed to be said and the other person heard it and something changed. You have been in a relationship with this gap for so long that you have started to think the gap is just a normal part of relationships, that all relationships have gaps like this, that this is just how it is. But it does not have to be how it is. It is just how it has been because you have not had the conversation yet. Why have you not had the conversation? I want you to think about this. What has been stopping you? Is it fear? Is it the fear that the conversation will not go the way you want? Is it the fear that the other person will not hear you, will not understand, will not care? Is it the fear that having the conversation will change the relationship in a way you cannot control? Is it the fear that you will lose something by speaking, that you will lose the version of the relationship that you have been holding on to even though it has been missing something? Or is it something else? Is it the fact that having the conversation means admitting that you want something, that you need something, that you have been wanting and needing something from this person that you have not told them about? And that admission feels vulnerable. That admission feels like it could cost you something. But the cost of not having the conversation has been growing. The cost has been accumulating, and you have been paying it without counting it, without even realizing how much you have been paying. The cost has been showing up as a kind of low-grade disappointment that you have been calling normal. The cost has been showing up as a distance you feel even when you are together. The cost has been showing up as the part of you that is always a little bit guarded, a little bit protected, a little bit holding something back because you have not told them the thing. And that holding back has been exhausting. The holding back has been costing you more than the risk of the conversation would cost. What would the conversation look like? If you had it, what would you say? How would you start? What truth would you finally speak? What need would you finally admit? Who would you finally tell them you are? What would you ask for? What would you ask them to consider? What would you tell them has been missing? I want you to think about this in detail, because you have probably been thinking about it in vague terms for so long that you have never actually gotten specific about what the conversation would contain. You have been thinking about it in terms of the feeling of it, the wanting, the longing, but you have not been thinking about it in terms of the actual words, the actual request, the actual thing you would say if you finally opened your mouth and said what has been sitting in your chest for so long. And the vagueness has been protecting you. The vagueness has been keeping the conversation in the realm of hypotheticals, in the realm of someday, in the realm of when the time is right. But the time is not going to get more right than it is right now. The time is just going to keep being whatever time it is, and the conversation is going to keep being unmade, and the gap is going to keep growing, and you are going to keep finding ways to not have it, to keep deciding that now is not the right time, to keep waiting for the moment that will never arrive, because the moment is not coming. The moment is just the decision to have the conversation. The moment is just you deciding that you are done waiting, that you are done pretending, that you are going to say the thing and let the chips fall where they may.
The many more moths in the door that meet me.
Flavored up. We in each shed. There was really want people. The Belier isn't closed.
So Elijah,
Faberline fume.
what would change if you had the conversation? Maybe nothing. Maybe the other person would not be able to give you what you need. Maybe the gap would remain. Maybe you would find out that the thing you have been wanting is not available from this person. Maybe they do not have it to give. Maybe they are not capable of being what you need them to be. And that would be hard information to receive. But at least you would know. At least the pretending would be over. At least you would have spoken your truth and let the other person decide what to do with it. And that would be something. That would be more than you have now. Now you have silence and workaround and the growing gap. Now you have a relationship that is built on the absence of the thing you need most. Now you have a version of closeness that is actually distance in disguise. That is not better. That is just a different kind of loss. The loss of never knowing what would have happened if you had spoken. The loss of the version of the relationship that might have existed if you had been brave enough to have the conversation. You have been paying that loss for a long time. You have been accepting that loss as the cost of keeping the conversation from happening. And I want you to consider tonight whether that cost is worth it. Whether the safety of not having the conversation is actually keeping you safer, or just keeping you in a relationship that is missing something. Whether the workaround is actually working, or just keeping you stuck.
These are the questions you need to ask yourself tonight. Not to change anything tonight, just to look. Just to see the actual cost of the thing you have been avoiding.
Because the cost has been real.
The cost has been growing, and you have been pretending it was not there. But it is there. It has always been there. And now is the time to finally have the conversation you have been avoiding. Not because you are sure it will go well. Just because you are done paying the cost of not having it. Good night. Have the conversation. Rest now.